It's Thursday, February 9th, 2023. This is FRC Media News. I'm Keith Tebow. We look at how Fall River survived last weekend's cold snap while also getting an update on the homelessness problem in the city. Congressman Jake Auchincloss gives us an early overview on the beginning of his second term, and residents are being asked to judge which bakery has the best pastel de nata. All this and more coming up. The city joined the rest of New England last Friday and Saturday in having to deal with the coldest winter weather in years, with temperatures and wind chills well below zero. Mayor Paul Coogan tells us the city was prepared and successful in making sure few people as possible were negatively impacted by the severe conditions.
A number of people stepped up from the fire department with close to 200 calls. The police department making sure that if people were on the street, they got in a police car and got a ride to where they were going. The shelters, almost all, except for the last one, were full, making sure people had a meal, someplace warm to stay. It was very, very impressive. We did not have one 911 call for anything related to homelessness or people being out in the cold. We obviously had a lot of pipe stuff and other problems, but everybody pulling together like that is what makes Fall River so special. You look at what happened, and we didn't lose a resident. I was reading about a woman in Boston this morning that froze to death on a bench, and thank God it could have been us, but we were very fortunate that with the full court press we put on, we did very well, and I'm very, very proud of the city.
Last weekend's cold weather was an added obstacle to the plight of Fall River's homeless population. The Fall River Addiction Support and Treatment, or FAST team, continues to work to help those without a home seek treatment and shelter. City homeless and substance abuse advocate Nikki Fontaine says extra attention is paid to the homeless during a weather emergency such as what we had last weekend. But with this year's winter being relatively mild and calm, convincing those to seek shelter remains a challenge.
People are more reluctant to seek shelter at this time, even though the shelters are already at capacity. So that means that, we still have a fair amount of people that are still on the streets and hadn't wanted to go to shelter until recently, for the storm. It's also about, we transport people to detoxes across the state, various treatment centers. As far as this winter goes, it's amazing to me how many different organizations are stepping up to donate stuff that people need and actually provide outreach too.
Each year, the city conducts a point-in-time count of the city's homeless as a way to gauge the severity of the problem. This year's count was conducted recently with numbers resembling those of a year ago.
Initially, the count was 103, but there was some duplicates, and I think that brought us down to about 98. And then there was 14 that people weren't really forthcoming with information. It was a best guess for 14, so we knew 85 that were willing to give their demographics, their name, talk about how they became homeless so we could try to work with them. But we're hovering around 100. A lot of people are scattered more in vehicles and, people that aren't reaching out yet. So many new names, last year we knew 95% of the people. This year with rising rents and stuff, there's new homeless people.
Stepping Stone's first step-in shelter on Durfee Street is fully open with 50 beds available, and the overflow shelter at the Tomeo Center on Bay Street can accommodate an additional 20 to 30. Ms. Fontaine says there remains a concerted effort from many on the FAST team to keep an eye on the homeless individuals and families and provide incentives to make sure that they seek help.
We have regular meetings with all the agencies that could encounter unsheltered people. And, we estimate is probably about 150, but some of those, they're able to stay at a friend's or, they'll go to treatment for a little while and then they come out and they don't have anywhere to go. So this year, the mayor and Mike Dion came out with us, and he made a couple of the encampments an amazing offer. They helped us clean up in exchange for gift cards. They cleaned up the area behind Liberal Club and Brayton. They're starting to do, and if they had agreed, to get some help, go to treatment, we were going to do everything we could to place them. And we're actually having good success with that. A couple of people have now been a couple months sober, and, they're not outdoors anymore.
Ms. Fontaine often shares her personal story of being addicted and homeless. She says it's vital that those facing challenges muster up the self-confidence to want to seek help.
I tell people, don't give up on yourself and dream big, because you can change it at any time you want, but you have to ask for help. And, a lot of families and cultures, it's weak to cry or say you need help, and we're trying to break down that stigma. Don't listen to, the fact that you feel unique or that no one can help you and no one's ever been where you've been. A lot of us have been there, and we can help. Excuse me, without judgment. And it's you're completely protected by HIPAA. No one is going to find out. Just seek the help, and we'll help you.
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, who serves Fall River, is looking to make a bigger impact in Washington while still delivering results for the people he serves at home. The Democratic congressman began his second term serving the 4th District in January under different circumstances from 2 years ago. The House is now controlled by Republicans, who won a small majority during last year's election. Congressman Auchincloss says the GOP has decided to begin its control of the chamber by putting the country in financial jeopardy.
They could have built on the bipartisan successes of last Congress, when we invested in infrastructure and science and domestic manufacturing and had the strongest job growth track record in history. When we passed climate action and clean energy investments, and when we restored America's standing on the world stage with our support for Ukraine and with our actions relative to China. Unfortunately, the first actions out of the gate for the Republicans under Speaker McCarthy have been to raise the federal deficit in helping the wealthy and the well-connected evade taxes, and in holding hostage the full faith and credit of the United States without being able to present a coherent plan in response. It's a rocky start that suggests that House Republicans don't have a grown-up who can come to the negotiating table and work with President Biden and with House Democrats on actually governing.
Congressman Auchincloss remains on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, where he says his participation will directly benefit economic development initiatives in Fall River.
I've been able to direct some congressional spending to waterfront development, and I'll continue to work on that in conjunction with state and local officials. But we also need to make sure that South Coast Rail is supported and that the Route 79 project is supported. Those are both transportation issues, and I'm here to be a federal partner in them. Second is in regards to water. I had mentioned this at the top of our conversation. Fall River has challenges with CSO. It has challenges with subsurface infrastructure in regards to water. And I've worked with the mayor and with the state delegation to continue to be a partner in upgrading Fall River's water infrastructure. And then third is offshore wind, which you mentioned. I have been tracking closely a number of offshore wind initiatives, have engaged on offshore wind at the federal level and in conjunction with Bristol Community College, with the National Offshore Wind Institute, with Brayton Point in Somerset, with developers, and of course with Fall River officials to ensure that to the extent that we're able to build an ecosystem around offshore wind in the South Coast, which I think we can and should drive towards, that Fall River is a beneficiary of those jobs and that economic development.
Congressman Auchincloss was also asked to serve on the Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and China, where he hopes to lend input on devising innovative ways to compete and collaborate with the Far East superpower.
This competition, first and foremost, needs to be based on America's long-standing strengths: freedom, democracy, science, the heritage that has always made us strong, and that if we reinvest in, will continue to make us the world's richest and most powerful nation. If we allow this heritage to wither, then no strategy, no committee can possibly save us. But if we reinvigorate it, then I'm so optimistic about the 21st century. There are areas where we need to prepare for conflict, Taiwan Strait and South China Sea. There are areas where we want to compete, particularly in regards to R&D and to investment in the global South. And then there's areas where we actually need to collaborate, particularly on climate change and on public health, where those are really transnational threats that the two biggest nations in the world need to be working on.
With President Joe Biden delivering his second State of the Union address this week, the congressman feels the president remains a well-respected and consistent leader, both home and abroad.
We saw this in real time with the incident with the Chinese surveillance balloon over the weekend. The president, as commander-in-chief, really accomplished all three of his objectives. He upheld the sovereignty of American airspace by shooting it down. He maximized counterintelligence capabilities by tracking and jamming it and then recovering the assets. And then he protected life and property by choosing to shoot it down at a time when it wasn't going to inflict damage. This was another foreign policy victory for Joe Biden. He's had a series of domestic policy victories in his first 2 years, from infrastructure to climate action to science to bipartisan gun safety reform. And we're going to build on that in the next 2 years. Now, it'd be easier if the GOP would get their house in order and actually come to us with real sensible policy proposals. But regardless, Joe Biden is going to govern in the best interest of the American people and is going to ensure that we're going to continue to deliver the fruits of a lot of the policies that were enacted last term.
Congressman Auchincloss says he remains committed with other Democrats to working toward protecting Social Security and Medicare while moderating health care costs for all Americans. The city of Fall River is regrouping and trying to find a developer interested in renovating the Bank Street Armory. A New Hampshire developer had shown interest in turning the armory into an event center, but backed out of the project late last year.
We wrote an RFP for that property. We want to hear what people have to say about what they would like to do with it. My focus is getting it back in use and renovated. I'm not married to any proposal. I did have a favorite going forward when we started, but that kind of fell apart. It's one thing I've learned that happens in government is it's a lot of fits and starts sometimes, but hey, you got to keep trying, and that's what you do. Once one ends, you move on to the next one, and that's what we're doing down there. We'll put out the proposals. I've had a number of calls about, what we can do and what people are thinking of doing. As long as they submit it in writing, let us know what they're thinking, make sure they're qualified, and we'll hear them out.
The Fall River Public Library this week put on display 2 pieces from a local artist depicting 2 city residents of note. Artist Sheila Oliveira donated a painting featuring Joe Raposo, the musical genius behind the children's program Sesame Street, and in honor of Black History Month, a portrait of Sarah Anna Lewis, Fall River's first Black teacher.
It's delightful to have my artwork as part of a permanent collection in Fall River, honoring 2 Fall River-born people, heroes. And I hope that these will enlighten people that anyone can come from, very humble beginnings and rise to, stardom and achievement.
We'll be back with more FRC Media News right after this.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Castro, the director of the play Our Town, and I'd love for you to join us on one of the 8 performances that we'll be doing at the Little Theater Fire Barn right here in Fall River. We have a great cast that has been working very hard to recreate the classic American story when things were simpler and a dozen eggs didn't cost $10 or more. Playwright Thornton Wilder wants us to open our eyes to the way we are living and to help us to appreciate every moment that we live. Our Town runs February the 2nd through the 12th. You can order tickets online at www.littletheater.net. Hope to see you there.
Here's some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Automation software and support engineer. Applied Materials is seeking a full-time automation software and support engineer to support product development, customer deployment, services, and support for factory automation and advanced process control. Job number 1830946. Assistant Dental Office Manager, Passion Dental, located at 16 10th Street, is looking for a full-time assistant dental office manager, responsible for assisting the office manager in overseeing the daily functions of the dental office. Job number 183-12870. Claim Service Specialist. Hub International, located at 222 Milliken Boulevard, is looking for a full-time claim service specialist to provide advocacy for small, middle market, and high-profile clients reporting claims activity. Job number 183-08312. General Manager. McDonald's, located at 1690 President Avenue, is looking for a full-time general manager. For more information, call 508-676-9400. The Fall River Public School Department, located at 417 Rock Street, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions at Morton Middle School. Spanish teacher, job number 182-24140. Special education teacher, job number 182-23994. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Hi, I'm Tess Curran, Director of Health and Human Services for the City of Fall River. I know that we're all tired of COVID-19. However, COVID remains a threat in our community. Anybody can become infected with COVID-19, especially children. Therefore, it's critical that parents consider getting their children vaccinated.
We realize that children already get a lot of vaccines as it is when they're young. So to add one more can be a lot for parents. But just like the other vaccines have basically helped eliminate many of the diseases that they were designed to fight, same thing with COVID.
As a parent, when we were thinking about how to approach the vaccination process with them, we were really looking at what the benefits were versus what the risks were. You know, they're 3 active kids. They like to play outside, they like to run around, and we wanted to keep them as healthy as possible. We talked to our pediatrician, what was going to be the best move for all 3 of them.
For parents who have questions about the vaccine, the best thing you can do is ask your pediatrician.
There was a little pinch, but it wasn't really that bad.
Anyone 6 months and older is eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. For questions, please contact your doctor or visit frvax.com for additional information.
Welcome back. AARP has taken over a portion of the atrium at Government Center where it's conducting free tax preparation services for city residents, and it's not just for seniors.
It offers a free tax service for the community. We're open for everybody, but we focus on those who it would be a hardship for them to pay their own taxes. So it's free tax assistance. For anyone who wants to make an appointment, you can come in around between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, make an appointment. And we have appointments 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning every day at this location.
AARP tax professionals will be available on weekdays through the end of the tax season on April 18th, but are not trained in all aspects of tax preparation.
We typically handle more of the basic returns. Those more complicated things are considered out of scope, which is what we do not do. So rental income, if you depreciate a property, if you own a business that has inventory, those are typical things that we would not handle, that we would refer to another tax preparer.
And finally this week, the Portuguese custard tart pastel de nata is featured in many a bakery in Fall River and New Bedford. But which bakery makes it the best? Viva Fall River, Destination New Bedford, and New Bedford Food Tours want to find out, and they need your help. The organizations are sponsoring a pastel de nata throwdown during the month of February, where patrons can sample and vote for their best in the South Coast. Viva Fall River Director Patty Rigo says it's a fun partnership between the area's gateway cities.
Great opportunity for us to partner on something and kind of poke a little bit of fun at the rivalry that exists, whether we want it to or not, and something that we could all agree on is that everybody loves natas. So whether it's Fall River or New Bedford, everybody wins with this promotion. There's a bingo card, and each of the participating bakeries has a square attached to its name. There are 6 in Fall River and 3 in New Bedford. The 6 in Fall River are Europa, where we are here right now, Barcelos, Portugalia Marketplace, Letty's, United Liberty, and Modern Bakery. So you would go to, if you wanted to play the full bingo game, you would have to go to all 9 bakeries, so 6 and 3, and then you would mail the card back. It's got an address right on the back, or you could drop it off at the Viva pop-up shop, which is 333 South Main Street at Columbia. And you would be entered to win a prize package, and the prize package is a New Bedford food tour, a $50 gift card for the Viva Fall River pop-up, and a membership, 1-month membership to the YMCA South Coast, which I'm really grateful that they donated that to us.
We visited Europa Bakery and Coffee Shop, one of the 6 bakeries in the contest. The bakery is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, with its pasta de nata being a local favorite.
Starts off with definitely the tart shell. That's super important. You know, we make ours completely by hand. The dough is, always fresh. Opening up all the tarts singularly, all by hand as well. And then, of course, the custard is also very important, making sure that it's a nice silky, creamy custard, and the look of them. They have to look very, very beautiful with those little slightly burnt tops. That's what makes the whole package delicious. We stick to what the original owner's recipe is. So the original owner passed down this recipe to us, and we did not want to touch it at all. So the way that he made it 25 years ago is the same way we've made it up until today.
To vote for the bakery you feel has the best pasta de nata, please visit nbfoodtours.com/throwdown. Ms. Rigo says the winner will be crowned at the end of this month.
Well, the winner of the Throwdown not only gets nata fame, they get to claim nata fame, but they get a really, we're going to make a fun trophy called the Golden Nata, which kind of is a take on, the Oscar statuette, the golden Oscar statuette. And it's just going to be a fun thing that they can display and really just play up for their own marketing purposes and, of course, future tourism efforts. And we're also planning on having a ceremony, like a little ceremony, public, of course. And we're not sure if it'll be in New Bedford or Fall River yet, of course, but when we do, we'll make sure everybody knows. And I am hoping that we'll be able to claim nata fame here in Fall River.
We'll be back to wrap up this edition of FRC Media News right after this.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Tostito. Tostito is a 3-year-old female Chihuahua. You can see she's very animated. She gets very excited for people. Like a typical Chihuahua, you'll find her just kind of trembling a lot of the time from excitement. She is used to living with another dog. She actually came to us originally with another dog, so we know that she does well with other ones. She seems to tolerate cats okay. If you have a home with kids, I would recommend that you have them be a little bit older, maybe 10 or over, that sort of thing. She, to our knowledge, is not used to living with children. She's still young, she's still very active. I think she would do okay with that. She's very flexible. A home that's a little bit older, as long as they give her enough attention. You could be an older person that's just looking for a companion, and she could be it. She's very friendly. She likes to be a couch potato, likes to sit on your lap. So if you'd like to meet Tostito, you can come down 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
Today I'm going to show you a bonded pair. They are 8-year-old females. We've got Macaroon, who is a calico. She doesn't mind being held. So this is one of the 2. This is Bonbon. Bonbon is the other half of the bonded pair, female, 8 years old. We don't believe they are actual sisters, but they did live together, so they are a bonded pair. They do need to go together. They would do good in any home. They are both fixed and up to date with vaccines. If you would like to meet this beautiful pair of ladies, come on down to 300 Linwood Street and they would love to meet you.
Hi, I'm Tess Curran, the Director of Health and Human Services for the City of Fall River. COVID continues to circulate in the community, and we need to be aware of the resources available to us. These resources include testing, treatments, and vaccinations.
As we enter into the flu season, the winter season, the biggest advice I can give to all people of our community is to monitor themselves for symptoms, and home tests for COVID are available, and I encourage people to do those tests to isolate if they have symptoms or if they test positive to COVID, and then to really reach out to their medical provider if they do test positive on one of the home tests. There are treatments available now for COVID. Many of them are very effective in preventing hospitalization and severity of symptoms. The manufacturers of the COVID vaccines have updated their vaccines to meet the new variants that we see in our community, including Omicron. And so I encourage people to get the booster vaccine. For individuals who have questions about COVID or the new vaccines that are coming out, I recommend that they reach out to their medical provider, or they can look at the local resources on the frvax.com website.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Castro, the director of the play Our Town, and I'd love for you to join us on one of the 8 performances that we'll be doing at the Little Theater Fire Barn right here in Fall River. We have a great cast that has been working very hard to recreate the classic American story when things were simpler and a dozen eggs didn't cost $10 or more. Playwright Thornton Wilder wants us to open our eyes to the way we are living and to help us to appreciate every moment that we live. Our Town runs February the 2nd through the 12th. You can order tickets online at www.littletheater.net. Hope to see you there.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. Please visit our website at frmedia.org for all the latest news and local information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Thursday.